It feels like every summer is hotter than the last, doesn't it? You step outside and the heat just hits you. News reports flash across our screens with alarming headlines. Record-breaking temperatures sweep across Europe. Severe drought grips the American West. These aren't just stories from far-off places anymore. They are happening in our backyards, affecting our families and our communities. The summer of 2023 was a stark reminder of this new reality. Wildfires raged in Canada. Hazy, ominous smoke cast over New York. In Spain, thermometers soared to levels once thought unimaginable. In Italy, thermometers soared to levels once thought unimaginable. We are living through a profound change. It affects every single one of us, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. This isn't a fluke. Scientists have been sounding the alarm for decades. They see a clear and undeniable pattern. Heat waves are becoming more frequent. Heat waves are lasting longer. Heat waves are reaching more extreme temperatures. Meanwhile, the rains are becoming less reliable. Long periods with little to no precipitation lead to serious droughts. Rivers are shrinking. Reservoirs are drying up. Land is parched and cracked. This is the new normal, and understanding it is the first step. Think about stories you've heard or seen on the news. A farmer in California staring at a dusty field. A family in London searching for relief in the heat. So, what exactly is a heat wave? We use the term all the time, but what does it mean? In simple terms, a heat wave is a period of unusually hot weather that typically lasts for 2 or more days. The key word here is unusually. It's not just about it being a hot summer day, it's when the temperature climbs significantly above the average for a particular area and stays there. Imagine the air just sits there, heavy and stagnant, with no breeze to offer relief. These aren't just uncomfortable, they are dangerous. Our bodies, our homes, power grids, railways are often not prepared to handle such prolonged, intense heat, especially in places that historically have milder climates. A drought, on the other hand, is a different kind of challenge, but it's often linked to heat. A drought is a long period with less than average rainfall or snowfall. This lack of water creates a serious shortage. It's not a single dry week or a month without much rain. It's a slow, creeping problem that builds over months or even years. As the ground dries out, plants wither, rivers and streams begin to dwindle, reservoirs that store our drinking water get alarmingly low. A drought starves the land of its most essential resource. Now here's how these two are connected, like partners in crime. So if heat waves and droughts are getting worse, the big question is, why? The overwhelming consensus among scientists points to one primary cause: the warming of our planet, often called global warming or climate change. For more than a century since the Industrial Revolution began, humans have been burning massive amounts of fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, to power our homes, factories, and cars. This process releases invisible gases into the atmosphere, the most significant of which is carbon dioxide, CO2. These are called greenhouse gases. It's helpful to think about what that name means for our planet. Imagine our planet is wrapped in a natural, invisible blanket. This blanket is our atmosphere, and it traps some of the sun's heat. That trapping keeps Earth warm enough for life. Without it, Earth would be a frozen, desolate rock. The problem: burning fossil fuels adds huge amounts of extra greenhouse gases. We're making the natural blanket thicker and thicker every year. That thicker blanket traps too much heat. Earth's average temperature rises. This extra heat doesn't just make warmer days, it fundamentally changes the entire climate system. It's like turning up the burner on the stove. The water will get hotter and start to boil and behave differently. Adding more energy to the atmosphere makes weather more extreme and unpredictable. The evidence is clear. Our actions are thickening the atmospheric blanket and warming our world. The story of our changing climate is written not just in scientific charts, but in the real-world changes we can see all around us. One of the most dramatic examples is the melting of ice. For thousands of years, glaciers were relatively stable. Alps glaciers, Rockies glaciers, Greenland ice sheet, Antarctica ice sheet. They acted like giant frozen reservoirs. Now that ice is melting at an astonishing rate, we see it in images of glaciers that have retreated miles up their valleys, leaving barren rock where ice once stood. This isn't just a sad sight, it has profound consequences. This melting ice directly contributes to rising sea levels. As glaciers and ice sheets melt, that water flows into the oceans. It's like slowly adding more water to a bathtub. For coastal communities around the world, this is an existential threat. But the melting ice also tells another story. The Arctic, often called the Earth's air conditioner, is warming more than twice as fast as the rest of the planet. The bright white sea ice that once covered the Arctic Ocean reflected sunlight back into space, helping to keep the region and the world cool. As that ice disappears, it's replaced by dark ocean water, which absorbs the sun's heat instead. This warming doesn't just stay in the Arctic. It disrupts large-scale weather patterns that affect us all, particularly a powerful river of air high in the atmosphere called the jet stream. But the signs of a changing climate are also visible in the plant and animal world. Flowers are blooming earlier in the spring. Birds are migrating at different times of the year. Many species are shifting their habitats, moving northward or to higher elevations to find cooler temperatures. These are subtle but powerful signals that the fundamental rhythms of the natural world are being thrown out of sync by the warming planet. And of course, we see the change in the weather itself. So, how does a warming Arctic end up causing a heat wave in Rome or a drought in California? Well, the answer lies high above us, in the jet stream. The jet stream is this fast-moving river of air. It flows from west to east, circling the northern hemisphere. It acts like a boundary, cold polar air to the north, warmer air to the south. The jet stream's strength is driven by the temperature difference between the Arctic and the mid-latitudes. Very cold Arctic, warmer south. Big temperature difference. That makes the jet stream strong, straight, fast-flowing, like a tightly pulled rope. But the Arctic is warming much faster than the rest of the planet. That reduces the temperature difference between north and south. The jet stream slows down. It becomes wavier, more like a meandering river than a fast current. Weather systems stop moving and get stuck in place. That's the key to the prolonged extreme weather in Europe and in North America. Scientists sometimes call this weather whiplash. A big northward wave can park over a region. It lets a dome of high pressure build. High pressure pushes warm air downward, compressing and heating it more. That creates a heat dome. A stagnant bubble of hot air sits like a lid on a pot, blocking cooler air and sending temperatures up day after day. Exactly what happened in the Pacific Northwest in 2021, and across southern Europe in summer 2022, and again in summer 2023. The pattern simply got stuck. Conversely, a stuck southward dip also causes trouble. It can block moisture-carrying storms and divert them away. That's a major factor in persistent droughts in the American Southwest. These changes are not just abstract scientific concepts, they have a very real and human cost. Let's look at the story of Lytton, a small village in British Columbia, Canada. In June 2021, the village found itself under an unprecedented heat dome. For 3 consecutive days, Lytton broke Canada's all-time temperature record. It ultimately reached a staggering 49.6 degrees Celsius, or 121 degrees Fahrenheit. This is actually hotter than any temperature ever recorded in Las Vegas. The community was simply not built for such extreme heat. The day after setting the record, a wildfire, fueled by the hot, dry conditions, swept through the village, destroying 90% of it in just a matter of minutes. The residents lost everything, a stark and tragic example of how heat and fire are linked. Now, let's cross the Atlantic to Europe. In the summer of 2022, the continent experienced its hottest summer on record, marked by brutal heat waves and a devastating drought. In France, the Loire River shrank so much in some places that people could actually walk across it. In Italy, the Po River dwindled to a trickle. This crippled farmers who rely on its water to grow rice and tomatoes. The drought was so severe that a 450-kilogram World War II bomb, once submerged, was discovered in the river's receding waters. In the United States, the ongoing drought in the West has had profound impacts on millions of people. The 2 largest reservoirs in the country, Lake Mead and Lake Powell, which provide water and electricity to cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles, have fallen to historic lows. You can see the result in what's called the bathtub ring, a stark white line of mineral deposits on the canyon walls showing just how far the water level has dropped. This has forced difficult decisions about water rationing, pitting the needs of cities against the needs of farms, and threatening the future of agriculture in states that feed the nation. The impacts of more frequent and intense heat waves and droughts ripple through every aspect of our society like a stone tossed into a pond. One of the most direct impacts is on our health. Extreme heat is a silent killer. It can cause heat exhaustion. It can cause heat stroke, which can be fatal. It also worsens existing health problems, putting a major strain on people with heart conditions, respiratory conditions, like asthma. Our hospitals and emergency services see a significant spike in admissions, stretching their resources to the breaking point. The stress and anxiety of living through these events also take a toll on our mental well-being. Our food and water security are also under direct threat. Droughts and heat waves create a nightmare scenario for farmers. Crops fail, livestock suffer. The cost of producing food goes up. This leads to higher prices at the grocery store, and availability of certain foods can become less reliable. The water shortages caused by drought force communities to implement restrictions on water use. Limits can mean watering lawns, washing cars, or even taking shorter showers. Access to clean, plentiful water is becoming a more pressing concern for millions of people. The economy feels the strain as well. The agricultural sector loses billions from crop failures. Wildfires, made more likely by hot, dry conditions, destroy homes, businesses, and valuable timber resources. Finally, the natural world, our beautiful ecosystems, suffers immensely. This loss of biodiversity is not just a tragedy for nature lovers. Faced with such a big challenge, it's easy to feel powerless. But the truth is, the small choices we make every day, when added together, can make a huge difference. One of the most impactful areas we can influence is our energy use. The main driver of climate change is the burning of fossil fuels, so using less energy at home is a powerful first step. This can be as simple as switching to energy-efficient LED light bulbs, unplugging electronics when they're not in use, and being mindful of our heating and air conditioning. Adjusting your thermostat by just a couple of degrees can significantly reduce your energy consumption over a year. Another key area is transportation. Our cars, trucks, and airplanes are major sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Whenever possible, consider alternatives to driving alone. Walk, bike, take public transit. Carpooling with a friend or coworker is another great option. When it comes time to buy a new car, think about choosing a more fuel-efficient model, or perhaps a hybrid or an electric vehicle. Reducing the number of flights we take, especially long-distance ones, also has a very significant positive impact. Every trip not taken by a gas-powered car is a small victory for our atmosphere. The food we eat also plays a role. The production of food, especially meat and dairy, requires a lot of energy, land, and water, and it generates significant greenhouse gas emissions. You don't have to become a vegetarian overnight, but simply trying to incorporate more plant-based meals into your week can make a difference. Think meatless Mondays. Also pay attention to food waste. A huge amount of energy goes into producing, processing, and transporting food that ends up being thrown away. By planning our meals, buying only what we need, and eating our leftovers, we can reduce waste and honor the resources that went into growing our food. Finally, we can use our voices. Talk to your friends, family, and neighbors about what you've learned. Support businesses that are committed to sustainability. Encourage your local schools, workplaces, and community leaders to adopt climate-friendly practices. By raising awareness and showing that people care, we create a powerful demand for change that leaders in government and industry cannot ignore. Your voice is a tool, and using it is one of the most important actions you can take. The story of our changing climate, with its searing heat waves and punishing droughts, is undeniably daunting. It is the defining challenge of our generation. But it is not a story that has to end in despair. Instead, it can be a story of resilience, innovation, unity. We are at a critical crossroads, a moment in history where our actions, or our inaction, will shape the world for centuries to come. The science is clear, and the warning signs are all around us. Now is the time to turn our collective concern into collective action, move forward not with fear, but with a shared sense of purpose and determination. This is not a political issue, it's a human issue. The atmosphere doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, American, European. It responds to physics, to the gases we pump into it. We all share the same planet, breathe the same air, depend on the same climate systems for our survival. Working together is our only path forward. This means supporting leaders who take climate change seriously, willing to invest in clean energy, solar power, wind power. It means encouraging innovation, supporting the scientists, supporting the engineers who are developing the solutions we need for a sustainable future. Imagine a world powered by the sun, powered by the wind, with quiet electric cars gliding through cities, cities with clean air, abundant green spaces. Imagine farms using water, more wisely resilient communities designed for extreme weather. This future is not a fantasy, it is entirely within our reach. We have the technology, the resources, the ingenuity to make this transition. What we need most is the will to do it. We have a shared responsibility, and together, we have the power to protect our one and only home.